Hello, I'm Jason and welcome to my weekly comic book review. Today I will be reviewing the comics that were released on the 1st of August 2012. Getting straight into it, we have issue 9, our Avengers vs. the X-Men, written by Jason Aaron and art by Adam Kubert. This issue, the main story is the Avengers are trying to break their captured members out of prison, and where magic is keeping them is inside of this volcano that she took a piece of hell and put in this volcano, and they're trying to break the guys out of there. You get other bit, that's the main bulk of the story. Also in there, Spider-Man becomes a mentor to Hope, sort of teaching her what it is to be an Avenger, and that at some point every Avenger, yeah, they've got Hulks, yeah, they've got super soldiers, but at every point, it becomes your turn, your time to step up, and that's when you've got to come through. That's all part of being an Avenger, which I find very interesting. Spider-Man becoming a mentor and this change of role, considering that he's going to get his own sidekick soon in his own comic called Alpha. So that's interesting to see that they're starting to change Spider-Man into more of this experienced hero than this young kid who's in awe of everyone. We then also look at the remaining 4 members of the Phoenix Five and how they are dealing or struggling with the Phoenix Force and its corruptive influence, descending them all into darkness at different rates. And we also get to see the X-Men at last and how they're dealing with this and their opinions on what's happening, which I really liked as well. I thought was good. So yeah, a really strong issue, one of the strongest issues they've done of this series. Well written, the art is really good as well. I like the story goes deep into different things as well, and hopefully this means that we're going to get a strong finish. I was thinking about this book the other day, and I was thinking, though I've enjoyed it, it has the quality has been up and down, and I was thinking, well, I come to the conclusion myself that every issue has a new writer, and I think part of that is each issue feels different because it's a different writer. You could give each writer the same piece to write and give it all set out the same, and each would be slightly different because everybody approaches things in a different way and has a different style. So I think maybe that would have been better if they'd allocated them maybe a quarter of the story each. Just took 4 writers, said, look, you're going to have the first part, then you, then you, then you, and then at least those sections would have had the 3 issues where you would have had the story would have stayed consistent instead of jumping to writer every issue. In saying that though, I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was a really strong issue, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have the crossover we've been waiting a year for. I'm of course talking about Animal Man and Swamp Thing. Let's join these 2 up. You see, I love how they did this. See this, there you go. I always put the wrong one down. So we start off with Animal Man. We get part 1 of Rock World in here. We get a little bit into the build-up of the last issue of Swamp Thing, when they go looking and they find Swamp Thing in the forest. And then like the bulk of this issue, then you get like updates of what's happened in the story previously, bring you up to speed, and then Animal Man and Swamp Thing decide what they must do. This issue is co-written by Jeff Lemire and Scott Snyder, and the art is by Steve Pugh. I think the art, all the issues, the art has sort of stayed reminiscent. Here, I loved this page here. You get Maxine with a vision of the future, which looks terrifying. Things also aren't looking good for Animal Man's son, Cliff, as it very much reminds me of the kid we saw in, I think it was issue 2, was it? No, I think it was issue 3 or 4 of Swamp Thing, but the kid Seth. So things ain't looking good for Cliff either in here, but a really good issue, and it really kicked off this whole Rock World story well, and it was well worth the wait to see them together, which you do with 2 writers, the talent of Lemire and Snyder. He was going to deliver, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up we have Swamp Thing. This is part 2. Again, it's co-written by Scott Snyder and Jeff Lemire, with art by Marco Rudy. They're inside the rat now, are Swamp Thing and Animal Man, and they sort of meet up with Anton Arcane, and things sort of get revealed. And the end of this was the first oh my god moment of the week. I was like, it was such a twist, but it was brilliant, because I always thought that the whole thing was Rot World, that Rot World was where the Rot was strongest, that this was like you go into the green or you go into the red. Going into the Rot would be Rot World, and that's one thing. An Animal would go there and they'd have to battle their way through, and it would be their journey to the centre to team up and beat this. But no, Rot World is something totally different, and oh my god, it was brilliant. They really delivered with this issue. I really loved it, and it really reads well, the two parts together. I don't think you'd get the whole story if you just read one part. If you have not picked up these books in the past, these are both great jumping on points. You do need to get both issues, but if you decide you like Animal or Swamp Thing, they're gonna go separately. This is like they team up for now, and then I think they're gonna go separately. Then at the end of the story, team up again. But yeah, this is brilliant. I really loved this book, as I do every month, and I definitely give it a thumbs up. And yeah, recommend picking them two up if you're not already. Next up we have Earth 2, written by James Robinson and art by Nicholas Scott. I'm really loving Nicholas Scott art on this. It is so brilliant. This issue sees our heroes Hawkgirl, Flash and Green Lantern team up to battle Solomon Grundy, and we also get the debut of the Atom. So you know, a lot going on in this issue. I really like the touches to like the Flash and Green Lantern. They've just got their powers and they still totally don't understand how they work. So I really like that. It gives it that more realistic tone. Hawkgirl, I'm just loving. She's totally badass, and we're looking forward in the future to get more backstory to Hawkgirl. I love Solomon Grundy as a villain. I thought he worked really well. Is some example of the art here as they're battling. Solomon Grundy. I just really enjoyed this whole issue. I thought it was really good. I can understand people that may have been big Justice Society fans not liking their characters being reinvented, but I'm really enjoying this book, and it's one of my favourite each month, and I'm definitely on board for the long haul, and I give Earth 2 a thumbs up. Next up we have Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I'm a sucker. I love alternate reality stories. I'm a sucker for a good alternate reality. This story is a kind of like a what if storyline, where it's like, what if Deadpool was evil? You know, what if something happened to Deadpool, that the comedy voices in his head were gone, and all that was left was this one psychotic voice. And that's what happens in here. The X-Men take him to the psychiatrist messes his head up, and then Deadpool goes around killing everyone. I enjoyed all the setup and setting up the next issues. I thought they did a good job of explaining what's happening in this world, and I generally found the last 2 pages, if not shocking, certainly surprising. My one complaint was this issue he battles the Fantastic Four, but my complaint was we don't get to see him properly battle them. You know, yeah, he kills them, and yeah, he delivers in that point where it's 17, but we don't get to see how he killed the Thing. We just get to see the aftermath, and I would have personally have liked to have seen him, the actual battle itself, but maybe it was a space thing to fit it all in. I like the art. I think the art's good. Here is when he sort of took the X-Men take him in. I enjoyed the art. I thought they did a good job with the art. This is probably my favourite panel, this one here, of the whole issue. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't it didn't scratch the itch that I wanted it to scratch. I liked it as a setup. I thought it was a real good setup for the other books. I'm not sure whether I'll get the other book straight away. It's a weekly series for 4 weeks, and you know, this side of payday I might not be able to do it, but hopefully on payday I might go and pick up the issues if they're still there. But yeah, all in all though, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good setup, and give it a thumbs up. Next up, and this book, the word that sums this book up is joy, and it is The Muppets. 2 of 4, and the 4 seasons, summer. And this issue, like the last issue, it's set out as you have your sketches, and in between them you have this story that's running. And in this issue, Fuzzy gets to go and work for this other theatre called Whatnot Theatre, so Scooter has to find a replacement for Fuzzy because they were going to do an act in the end of the show. So that's the overall story, and sort of showing Fuzzy at this new theatre while Scooter's desperately looking for a replacement. It's really good. Once again, Roger Langridge writes and illustrates this comic, and he has a real good feel for the Muppets and for all the different characters on the Muppets. So it feels genuinely like an episode of the Muppets. The jokes aren't as funny as the first issue, but he still has such a great feel for the characters that it's still a joy to read. And I put this down when I finished it, and I just had a smile on my face. I just really enjoyed it. And you know, any Muppet fans out there, or people that just want a bit of joy in your life, I give it a thumbs up and recommend it. Next up we have Before Watchmen, Niteowl 2 of 4, written by J. Michael Sosinski, art by Andy Kubert, and inks by Joe Kubert, father and son team there. The first issue of this I was a bit disappointed with. I thought Sosinski had some good ideas, but he just didn't realise them well enough. I felt that, you know, he had about 4 good ideas, but that he raced through everything so quick that, you know, it just felt rushed. This issue, he's back on form. Much better issue. You have the overrunning story that they go after these criminals, and Niteowl follows them into this building, and there's a criminal knocked out, and there's this naked woman with a mask and a paddle, and this naked guy tied to a table. So they've obviously interfered with this bondage session, and Niteowl's a bit intrigued, but at the same time embarrassed. Then Rorschach comes in and he goes crazy, calling the woman a slut and a whore, and Niteowl gets him out of there, but Rorschach runs off, and it's sort of then looking into why Rorschach reacted that way, and we get to look at his past, his childhood with his mom being a prostitute, and then we also get to look into some of the things more from Dan Dreiberg's past. And instead of being a rush through, it's sort of a better look at these things and explains things that were left there, like why did he idolise the original Niteowl so much. That is answered in this issue, and I thought this issue was a lot stronger, and I really enjoyed this over the last one. And you know, I definitely give this one a thumbs up, and I'm much more positive for the rest of this series. I really enjoyed this a lot. Next up we have World's Finest issue 4. The answer to the tease on the cover is, what is this monster's connection to Earth 2? And the answer is, we still don't know. That's probably my only gripe about this. Why put something on the cover that isn't going to be answered? Because even at the end, Paragirl's like, we still haven't got all our answers to what's happened, and so hopefully we're going to get them in the future. But this issue sort of sees their final showdown with this guy called Haku, who they think came through the portal from Earth 2 to Earth 1 at the same time they did. It's a really good, I enjoy this comic. It's written by Paul Levitz, and he does a fantastic job of building this friendship between these two characters. That I just really enjoyed this book. Seeing that friendship, seeing two strong characters who both can kick ass, two strong female characters who can both kick ass, is really good. And like I say, it's that friendship between them that I feel makes this book stand out more than any other team-up book. I enjoyed the art. We've got two artists are credited on here, Joe Perez and Scott Koblish. Yeah, Koblish. And I think what it is if you look at some of the art here, you sort of look at this art here, that I'm sure is Perez, but then when they go into the past, the art is slightly different, and I think that's probably where the other artist comes in, which I think is a good idea, because it certainly gives the sequences where they're thinking back to their first 5 years on Earth 1. I think it gives it a different feel, so you know, oh yeah, this is a past bit and this is the present. So I like that. I just really enjoy this book. It's not like a saga or a Batman that blows you away every issue, but it's just a fun, strong comic book, and I give it a thumbs up. Next up is my pick of the week, and it's a bit of a shocking one. There were some good books this week. I really enjoyed Animal Man and Swamp Thing, but I felt that I need to pick one. For pick of the week, no compromise, I picked one book. And I felt I couldn't separate those two books. So, but then, and when I read all my comics, this was by far the one I enjoyed the most. And it is Smallville, Season 11, Issue 4. This issue, as you can see, that on the cover is Hank Henshaw, and he battles Superman in this issue. We also get this issue pretty much finishes off the first story arc. So we get Superman battling Henshaw, which has been coming from the start. We knew that was coming. We get to find out what was behind Luthor's actions in previous issues. We also get to find out who was on that ship that crashed, that Ollie, that Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, and Chloe are investigating. Who was on that ship, and you know, at the end of this issue, oh boy, there was some really nice reveals and sort of setups for future issues, and I really love the twist here with Luthor and Superman, and what Luthor's done is just so so underhanded, but brilliant. I'm just enjoying the heck out of this book. It's great, and I would go as far to say it's the best Superman book out there. It's written by Brian Q. Miller, art by Perez. The art isn't bad, it's just that they're trying to capture the TV characters in each scene, and I think you look there at Superman, it just doesn't look right seeing somebody else's head on Superman's body in the comic, and I personally would have much preferred they just said, look, yeah, we're going to continue the story, but they're going to look like comic book versions, not the TV versions. But we're going to continue the story on. I think that would have worked better, because I think it would have made it easier for the artist. I think it's just a really difficult task to try and make the character every panel look like the TV version. But you know, apart from that gripe, I think this has been a brilliant book. I'm enjoying it every month. I enjoy this book, and I'm just really interested to see where they're going to go as things develop, and it looks like it's going to be great fun, and I give it a thumbs up. My pick of the week, Smallville, Season 11, Issue 4. Next up we have the first X-Men, written by Christos Gage and Neil Adams, and art by Neil Adams. As a standalone comic, I enjoyed it. This is the first part of a mini-series, and before the first class you had the first X-Men, and they're not much the X-Men as such, but they're a band of mutants, and this issue sort of sets up how they come together, how this group come together, and that's what happens in this issue. And I like that story. I thought that story worked really well, and if you just treat it as a separate story, it's good. I enjoyed it. Where it is difficult is I don't know how this fits in to the canon, if you will, how it fits into the history of X-Men. I don't know enough of my X-Men history. I didn't totally like the characterization of Charles Xavier, but that might change. He might go on a journey over these 4 issues. I'm sorry, I think it's 4. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5. It doesn't say. So yeah, some of the characterizations I wasn't totally sure of, but we'll see how it goes. It was a nice first issue that sets everything up. But I'm not totally convinced, and I'm on the fence a bit about whether to get the next issue. I like the art. I thought there was some nice art in here. This is Sabretooth and Wolverine go to the zoo. It was some good stuff. and I really like the new characters they introduced. Whether I'm with it for the long haul, I don't know, but certainly I enjoyed the first issue. Give it a thumbs up. And next up is my favourite crossover in this whole Avengers vs X-Men, and it is XMen Legacy. This issue, Rogue tries to break Miss Marvel out of jail, feeling that magic's gone too far. So Rogue stands up, and of course it doesn't go well. I really enjoyed this issue, considering the three main characters. You've got Magic, you've got Miss Marvel, and you've got Rogue. I think it was a really good book, and I really enjoyed it. And it was great reading issue 9 of Avengers vs X-Men and seeing stuff that you see in here, and you think, oh yeah, I've seen that in XMen Legacy. And it doesn't take away from the story if you haven't read this, but it does add to your enjoyment, and that's what a crossover book should be. Christos Gage is doing a really great job on this. The art is by David Baldion, and I did like the art, I thought. But I just really liked this whole story and seeing, you know, this from Rogue's point of view is really good, and it's an enjoyable issue, and I'm definitely on board for the next issue. I'll definitely be back this week. Now, those of you who may check out other videos, you may have seen a guy called Mark, and he's doing a series of videos called 31 Days in August. And what he's going to do, he's going to review a different comic book, from his collection every day. He's going to review one. In part 1, he did a review of a comic book called Spellbinders, issue 9. And it was we were to do 2000 AD, they were trying to break America, and it was some of the 2000 AD stories were in there. And his review was brilliant. He was so, like, the knowledge he had was fantastic, but also the enthusiasm was just infectious. So after listening to his review, I was like, I wouldn't mind trying out some 2000 AD. So I went to my local newspaper shop, and they had the current issue. I looked inside, and it said that each story was most of the stories were part 3. So I went to my comic book shop, got the last 2 weeks, and so I had 3 issues to read. And so here we are, 2000 AD. This is issue 1792. You can see in the corner there. No books will go up to that number these days. There's 2000 AD. Then you've got the next issue, 1793. And then finally we have 2000 AD. And that is this week's issue that's out on newsstands this week. Basically what 2000 AD is, to give you a quick overview, is you have 5 strips in here, 5 comic strips, and Judge Dredd, he gets 6 pages, the other 4 strips get 5, and each week, you know, it comes out weekly. So basically you would end up getting what you'd get in a monthly book. You know, in the other books I reviewed, what you'd get in a monthly book, you'd end up a month with this. The first story is Judge Dredd, and it's a story called Debris. It's a story that's printed in colour, and that was a really good story where, and it was very reminiscent of the trailer for the Dredd movie, where he's in this tower block and he's got to try and get to the top to disarm this gun, because this tower have been hoarding food and they've declared independence from Mega City 1. So the judges have come in, but they've blown up their ship with this new gun called, let me get the name, called a Mass Driver, and so Judge Dredd is trying to get to the top. I really enjoyed that story, I thought it was great fun. Next up we have The Red Seas, which follows the 2 investigators of oddness called, let me have a look, called Mr. Windsor and Mr. Newton, and they're trying to stop these thieves stealing these artifacts. It's in black and white, but it works really well, and I enjoyed that. That one was okay. I like the interaction between the characters, but it wasn't my favourite strip. Then we've got this strip, and again in colour, it's called Aguila. It's set during Roman times, in 694 AD. And Aguila is basically this guy who was, no, 69 AD, sorry. He's this guy that was crucified. he then gave his soul to this god who gave him invulnerability in return that Aguila must collect evil men's souls and bring them back to the Devourer. So I really like that, and this story has been hired by by the Britons to sort of help them get into Londinium, which I really like that story. I thought that was good. We then had the grievous journey of Ichabod Azrael, again another collar story. This guy, Ichabod is Azrael. He was a cowboy, outlaw, and he got shot, and he went to hell, but he wanted to see his true love one more time, so he managed to get out of hell, and he keeps getting reincarnated in different bodies every time he dies, and he's been hunted by this guy called the Hunter. So we start off in the 1920s, in the first two issues he's in the 1920s, and then this issue sort of jumps to the 1940s, and you know, I like the concept of the story. I haven't quite got my head around it yet, and who all the characters are. So that's hurt that story for me. And then another one of my favourite one is Lenny Zero, and he's doing a story called Zero's 7, and it's a black and white strip, but it works really well. And basically what he's doing is he's going to do this heist, and he's kind of similar to Han Solo. Lenny Zero, that's the character he reminded me of. He's going to do this big heist, and he used to be a judge, but he's not now, and he's got all these bad people that he owes money to, so he's going to do this big heist, and he's putting a team together and to go and do this heist, and it's been really fun so far, the characters that they've sort of introduced, so I've been really good. So yeah, so 2000 AD I give a thumbs up to. I definitely recommend checking it out. It may be worth going back and getting an issue, if you can, getting issue 1792, because that's where a lot of the stories start off from. But it's really good, and the thing I didn't realise, I always thought they just dealt with science fiction, but they don't. You know, it goes back, you have stories through all different history periods in time, and that was something that shocked me, and it is a good read. I don't know the rest of the world how you can go about picking up this, but I know in the UK you can pick it up fairly easily from, if you got a local WA Smiths, you should be able to pick it up from there. On the back they advertise this other magazine called Judge Dredd Magazine, which I may check out. I may check that out this week. But all in all, yeah, that was a fun read. I thought there were some really great ideas, and especially the Judge Dredd, the Lenny Zero, and the Aguila strips I really enjoyed, and I think I'll definitely be back for the next issue of that. So, you know, thank you Mark for your brilliant video, and thank you for introducing me to 2000 AD. So, that's me done this week. I should hopefully, fingers crossed, be back next week with another comic book review. So, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you checking this video out. If you liked it, click the subscribe button above, and that will mean you'll get all my videos into your feed and you won't have to go searching for them. Also, down below there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down, so you can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down whether you enjoyed or didn't enjoy this video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you all have a good week. Bye for now.